I'm here now with Tracy Brown, and she is the founder of the Zack Brown 5K for Angioma Alliance. And I just wanted to ask her a few questions this morning. Can you tell me a little bit about your family's experience with cavernous angioma, who's affected, and how it all happened?
Sure. My son Zach is 14 and he has a sporadic brainstem lesion. We had never even heard the word until 4 years ago. He was 10 and oops, um, he called home from school with a headache. And I said, "You don't have a fever, you're not throwing up, go back to class." And a couple days later, he was still he said he had some problems with his eye and his ear, which I thought might have been allergies. Again, it wasn't. He wasn't crying. It wasn't the worst thing that I'd ever thought of. We took him in to a local emergency room and they did a CT and they said, "You have a lesion on your brainstem and there is a transfer unit on the way from Children's National Hospital." It took about 3 days, which, according to other people I've talked to now, is a very quick diagnosis of an angioma. But for us, 3 days seemed like an eternity waiting to hear what he had. He was in the hospital for a week, came home for a day, and had a massive bleed. He was home literally 23 hours and he said he had a headache, which our instructions when we sent home said he might have headaches. So I gave him Tylenol and I was going to monitor him. But within about an hour of his onset of his headache, he said that he was no longer seeing. He lost his ability to speak clearly. He could not walk. He couldn't hold his head up. That's a major bleed.
Mm-hmm.
It was like something that you see in a movie. My husband literally carried him down the stairs and into the car. I held his head while he threw up because he couldn't hold his own head up. We drove about 100 miles an hour to the hospital. Don't suggest that for other people, but my husband is a trained driver. And he was in ICU for 10 days and then in the regular neuro floor for about another 2 weeks. And then he spent a month at the National Rehab Hospital in DC. It affected the left side of his body and the right side of his face. So facial paralysis, and then he had to learn to walk again and learn fine motor skills on his left side.
So what's been happening since then? It's been 4 years now, you said. So how's he been doing?
He's awesome. He literally hundreds of therapy sessions later, but he plays basketball, he runs, he goes to school, normal setting, whatever normal is. He has had 6 eye surgeries, and his eye's pretty straight, pretty good. He's had 2 major nerve surgeries trying to reanimate his face. So far, just minimal improvement, but we're hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
And knock on wood, no more bleeds. So at this point, we consider it inoperable. Others will argue that it's a personal choice for all of us, but when it's in the brainstem and other places, I guess, but brainstem especially, those are hard to get. So we're waiting on the Angioma Alliance to help us
Yeah.
find a treatment.
So tell me about the Zack Brown 5K.
Okay, the Zack Brown 5K. So we started that about a year after his bleed. I mentioned that Zach was unable to walk, and he relearned to walk. And that was part of the reason for the 5K, because he couldn't and then he could. Although we wanted everyone to be included, and that's the virtual part of it, was that those who can't walk can cheer on those who can. Or if you walk slowly, if you run, wherever you were, you could be with us physically, at the location or wherever you were as a person, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That was the idea behind the virtual 5K. I had met other people online who were very isolated with this illness. If I don't know if I can call it lucky, but if Zach's lucky to be a kid and have it, he has a lot of support. A lot of older people don't have the support that he has, and that was part of it too, to make them feel a part of it.
Yeah. So this is now, you're coming up on the third year of having the event. How
Yeah.
has it changed? Is there anything different for this year that your attendees are going to see?
Way to put the pressure on me. It's continuing to grow, and that's good. He's entering the high school in a week, and he has a habit of making friends very quickly.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that we'll have a surge of younger kids there this year because there's like 2,000 kids at his high school.
Wow.
So I would love it if we could get a really huge turnout, and I won't be a bit surprised when that happens.
How
So
many people had attended before?
in the past, it's been between 200 and 300,
Wow.
depending on the year.
Yeah.
So, and then we've had people, I think, it evolved into the Anywhere Walk through the Angioma Alliance. And there were people walking, and you can correct me on this, but I think like 30 states maybe and 8 other
Even
countries
more.
or something, a lot. So,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and I've been fortunate enough to attend the last few, and I know that you've had um, entertainment, a DJ. You had a bounce house, didn't you, last year? Other years you had the first year you had some raffles. So you've also had what's the name of the organization that makes the food for you?
yes. Well, and unfortunately, he could not this year, but the past 2 years, it's called Fired Up to Help.
Yeah.
And they go to different um, help me out. What am I thinking I'm trying to say here? But it's all
Events, fundraising
events,
events.
fundraising events and donations, or if there's, say, like a hurricane, they go and provide food for workers. They're
Yeah.
a great organization. But unfortunately, he's on restricted leave from his full-time job and can't come that date. So
That's
I'm
okay.
working on finding someone else, though. So
Okay.
there should still be food and a DJ, of course, and just lots of people.
Okay.
So it's a fun event.
Is there anything else that you'd like folks to know that you'd want to say and share either about how things are now or the future or just thoughts that you've got or what
Uh,
you'd like other people to do?
Yeah. I'm of course very grateful for everyone that supported us, and I always like to say that because I don't ever want a day to go that people don't know how thankful I am. Um, if you have an angioma, get involved in finding the treatments that we need. If everyone got involved and brought their people on board, we could do this faster. Um, so that's what I would say is that, my hope or my wish would be for people that have angiomas to just have normal problems and not have the is my brain going to bleed problem. Just take away that one problem, and normal problems we can deal with.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's it.
Well, thank you. Thanks.
That was
And
easy.
have a great rest of the day. Okay.
Bye, Connie.
Bye.